Tune in for Patrick Ching's Painting in Paradise.
Aloha, I'm Patrick Ching, and thank you for joining me on Painting in Paradise. In this episode, we'll learn about painting water, like in watercolors. We'll hear from artist Patrice Pendarvis about watercolors and see her create a painting with them. Then, I'll show you how you can draw a Honu and how to paint a drawing using acrylic paints in a watercolor style. Finally, we'll visit Frank B. Shaner in Kula, Maui, and learn how he went from being one of Hawaii's biggest radio personalities to a prolific painter, and he did it his way. Enjoy all this and more on a water painting episode of Painting in Paradise!
Hi, I'm Patrice Pendarvis. I live on the island of Kauai, and I paint in watercolor mostly. It's a fun, fascinating, spontaneous medium that you can get detail, fun strokes, and very, very playful. The thing with watercolor is there's always a flow. It might be fast or it might be slow, but there's always a flow. And you just can't go wrong. Play with it. Have fun.
Now we'll see how Patrice uses watercolors to produce a beautiful painting.
Here is the drawing of my mermaid, my elusive, beautiful, flowing water nymph. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of water, saturate the background, and keeping in mind not to go over her arm. There's a little bit of biscuit to the left there. That's going to be her lei, and I really want to keep that crisp. So I'm saturating the back, super saturated with water. And then I'm going to go ahead and drop in a lot of different colors of blues, a little bit of viridian, just to give it the underwater oceany feel. And this is layer number 1, but here's layer number 2, and I'm adding salt to this and also lifting out some of those beautiful sun rays that are coming through the surface there. And this little water nymph is just floating along. I'm adding a little bit of deeper color here to pop some more of that contrast out. And I'm going against some of these coral pieces in the background with a darker color so I can get a little bit more definition on those. I'll add some of the color, and then I'll take another brush and I'll blend it off into the background. So it's got a nice crisp, catching those sun rays that are coming right up through there. And then I'm going to go onto her body, and it's a little bit of viridian there, and deepen it a little bit. Add a little color onto the lei. A little bit more detail into the kelp or seaweed grass. Then I'll go into the coral part and start adding some lights and darks and get those to pop and be a lot more color once I get a little bit more done. And there you have it. There's the beautiful merlei.
When we return, I'll show you how to draw a Honu. For art, gifts, and lessons, visit patrickching.com. Now I'm going to show you how I draw Honu using a 3-step drawing process of forming, outlining, and shading. In the forming stage, remember to press softly, okay? I'm going to use a pen. You can use a pencil. We'll start with a shape for the turtle shell, like a teardrop, you know, a circle with a point on it. That's how quick it can be. For the head, I'm just going to put a circle where I want the head to go. And for those big front flippers, I'm going to use a circle attached to a long skinny oval, okay? So where I want his shoulder to be, I'll put a circle and a long skinny oval like that, okay? Another circle and a long skinny oval. So give your turtle a nice big flipper so he can fly through the water, and he's going to thank you for it, okay? Back flippers, they're kind of like a human hand. You can just make a circle where you want your back flipper to go. They're shaped much different than the front flippers, okay? They're kind of like rudders. If you want a boy turtle, you're going to give it a long tail like a carrot. A female turtle is going to have a short tail. So it can either be short or it can be long like that. And right now I just kind of formed up my sea turtle. Got the shell that big, the head over there, front flippers, back flippers. And now I'm ready to give it some details. This is when you can press harder with your pencil. I'll just use a bigger pen. Okay, and again, I'm going to go around the shape of the shell, all the way back to where I started. For the head, I'll give it a nice little pointed like a beak and a smile connected to the body. Give it some nice big eyes. That's the maka, the Hawaiian name for eye is maka. And a little ring around the eyes, especially on the top. You can make that white ring even bigger. You can even see a little bit of the other side eye, just like that, okay? For the front flippers, I take these little shapes I made and kind of connect them together. Remember, they're just a guide for me. So I'm going to go around the shape all the way to the point there, come back, a little zigzag, jaga jaga right by the armpit part, okay? Following the shoulders all the way to the point, come back, a little jaga jaga. And I have my front flippers. Back flippers, remember, they're like a human hand with big webbing in between. Okay, so you can give it 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back to the shell. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back to the shell. Don't get too hung up on how this comes out, okay? Just have a good time. Decide if you want a male or a female turtle. Give it a long tail or a short tail. I'm going to have a male, so I'll give it a long tail. And now I'm ready for the super secret pattern of the sea turtle's back. Okay, this is the fun part. Remember I told you the sea turtle, it was made of material just like your fingernails? That's called keratin. Imagine your fingernails really thick. That's the material that's used to make the sea turtle's back and scales. So every section of the sea turtle's back is called a scoot. And first I'm going to determine where the marginal scoots or the outside scoots go. Just kind of make the shape of the turtle's shell within a shell. And these are where the marginal scoots are going to go. The pattern of the sea turtle's back depends on a shape. A 6-sided shape called a hexagon, right? And if we put one part of the hexagon facing the head, one part of the hexagon facing the tail, and on the sides it's like the roof of a house. If you get one hexagon in the middle there, you're on your way. Okay? Just add another hexagon in the back. And another one in the front. And you've got 3 hexagons in the middle of the turtle's back. Okay, let's put 3 hexagons touching each other, like that, sharing that line in between. From there, you just radiate lines to the edge of the turtle's shell. And give it some lines to divide the scoots on the margins or the marginal scoots. Those are fun. And there you have it, the super secret pattern of the sea turtle's back. And you can go ahead and give your turtle some scales too. They've got kind of big scales up front here on their flippers. less scales on the back here. Now if you want to know some real details about turtles and their shell patterns, if you ever see a clean turtle, maybe at the aquariums they have young turtles, they're ready to release into the wild, their backs are really clean. You can actually see a little sunrise on each of their scutes, like a semicircle with the rays of a sun. So if you got to see a turtle that's really clean, that has a really clean shell, you might see a little sunrise in every scute pattern. That's for those of you who want to have a real detailed drawing of a sea turtle. Okay, so you can do like a little sunrise in every scute. Ta-da!
When we return, I'll show you how to draw a Honu using acrylic paints in a watercolor style. For art, gifts, and lessons, visit patrickching.com. Now I'll show you how you can do a painting in a watercolor style using acrylic paints.
Alright, so I'll show you how you can go about painting your own paintings, starting with the Honu, green sea turtle, Eevee, Hawaiian honey creeper, and the Uhu, or parrotfish. Now some of the main ingredients you're going to need for painting are paper and paint and brushes and things like that, okay? So I'll show you what I use right here. Now you got your picture, have some paper towels ready. I use a couple of containers for water. I like to use paper, you notice that, so we don't have to use so much plastics, yeah? I keep a container for clean water and a container that I'm going to use to wash brushes too. I got my assortment of brushes here. Get your favorite brushes, and you can use whatever kind of paint you have available. I'll be using acrylic paints today, but you can be using watercolors or whatever you like to color with. I'll just be using paper plates as our palette, and make sure you have a rubbish can close by too, okay? So I'm going to get a couple of greens and a red and start working on my border design. So I'm adding quite a bit of water to my paints, using them like a watercolor style. And I'm starting with the lighter color greens first. Once I've got a few of my green leaves made, I'm going to get a darker green and put them on the parts that are a little closer to the flower. Okay, you see how when the paint is wet, they kind of flow and fade into each other? It's a nice effect there, yeah? And now I'm going to make my lehua blossoms red. I'll get some clean water and red paint. Yeah, I'll start off with paint. Just kind of finish the rest with water. So sometimes I'm not using much paint at all. Mostly water and letting the paint flow into the water. I'll get kind of a light greenish blue for those little balls that the flowers grow out of. And that's just quick work of the border design. Now first thing I'm going to do to paint the turtle's ocean environment is paint it with clear water. And I'm not going to get all the way to the edge and touch the border design, okay? And I'm leaving the turtle untouched by water, so all of the ocean part is getting wet with water. Now I'm going to put a color, kind of like an aqua color, adding a lot of water to it. And I'll make my ocean light. You can make it whatever color you want. Remember folks, you don't have to do the same colors I'm doing, okay? Okay, now that I add paint to it, the paint will go and find its way to all the places that I painted with water. But it won't go inside the places that I did not paint with water. Remember, I did not paint the turtle. I'm going to leave the turtle white for now. Okay, I'm going to leave a little bit down here, and this is going to be like seaweed and coral down there. So I'm not going to go all the way down with my blue. And I got some marks up there that I can just put kind of like white sparkles in there, you know. Now for the seaweed, I can get that bright green again. You can put orangey color seaweed, whatever you like, okay? Okay, to start off the Honu, or the sea turtle, I'm going to make kind of like a cream color. That's going to be a lot of white, just a touch of brown. I want it to be very light, and a touch of this yellow color. I'm going to add some water to it, and I'm going to put it on the light parts of the Honu, okay? We want to get in between all of the scales and scutes with this very light color. Okay, and again, don't worry if your light color goes on top, because your dark colors are going to overpower it very easily. Alright, now I'm going to play inside of each of these sections, and every section is called a scute, S-C-U-T-E, scute. But I'll start with a little half circle on the back of every scute, like a little sunrise. And I go with kind of a brown color, like a rusty color. See how I kind of outline every section? Okay, now in there you can add little greens if you like. They got all different kind of colors, but you can make your strokes go in the shape of a sunrise. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of get a brownish color like a burnt sienna and paint all the scales.
And here you have it, your Honu acrylic watercolor painting. When we return, we'll meet a popular radio personality who became an artist. For art, gifts, and lessons, visit patrickching.com. On the slopes of Haleakala on the island of Maui, I find the man who was once one of the most well-known voices of Hawaii. Whee! Once a well-known radio personality, Frank B. Shaner is now pushing paint.
Well, first of all, I'm honored to be here, my brother. Man, you are my hero. I remember back in the day when me and Brickwood, we were doing the morning radio show, and Patrick would come up every once in a while and talk about his rodeo. He was his rodeo clown, and I didn't realize he was a fine artist. We were just talking about his rodeo and getting hit by bulls and everything, and then I realized I saw his work one day, and my God, it was the most amazing thing. We met. I took a class from brother in Waimanalo. It was very cool, man. I never forgot those days, and I try to apply it today.
I asked Frank how he went from being a major radio guy to being a non-stop contemporary artist.
I want to tell you how all of this started, because I wasn't a painter. I never, pursued it. Actually, painting pursued me, which is very bizarre. I know exactly the day it happened. So I was doing the radio show with Brickwood and I in the morning, Hawaiian 105, and it was 9/11, man. And people were jumping out of buildings. The buildings are coming down. It was horrible. After that show, I got in my car. I'm driving around. I'm cuckoo already. So I end up pulling into Hawaiian Graphics. I started buying the canvas and paint and having paint brushes. I took them back to my apartment, sat down.
And that's when Frank began to teach himself to paint.
But that's basically what it is, man. I just throw it on there and I play with the brush. So all of a sudden, something clicked. And I really didn't know what the heck it was. It's God sent. I have no idea. He just, boom, sent this to me. Now I got to deal with it. I mean, it shakes you all the way through your body. Once you realize you're onto something, then you can't sleep. You think about it all the time. You get up in the morning, boom, you're in the studio, sitting there. And sometimes I sit for hours just looking at the painting. And it'll start to talk to you. And this piece is just jazz, man. Jazz. Give me that. I love jazz when I'm painting and just hanging out in the studio. I have jazz going on all the time. It's spiritual. It is. It's all spiritual, man. That's the whole gift. Guitars, man. I love guitars. I love musicians. I don't play, but I love the curves of the guitar. Very sexy, and I've been having fun at it. This is all wood, right? All jigsaw. This is all wood, and it's all just carved and pasted and painted. So, and there's never a formula here. Now, this is my interpretation. If Vincent came to Hawaii, okay, so here it is. Starry, starry night over Diamond Head. What you're looking at right now is all wax, and it's on canvas, and but the colors are so beautiful. I just love it.
As you can see, Frank B. Shaner is a man of many talents, and you can be assured that whatever he's creating, he'll be doing it his way.
One of the big events, it's kind of a little game changer, is that I had this solo show at this hair salon. It was quite a success. It was the first time that really made me, oh, gee, I think I might have something here. So just don't worry about it. Just do art for yourself. That's what I do. Well, every year up here, it's the Maui Open Studio with all the people who push paint, artists in various communities around Maui. We open up our doors. People come through, they walk through the studio and the grounds and so forth. They, check everything out. And we've had some real nice success up here, actually. I'm real happy with it. You can see a lot of my work at Ala Moana Asagios and the one out in Kahala Asagios. Or you can check out my website at frankbshanerart.com.
Thank you for joining me on Painting in Paradise. I hope you enjoyed learning about painting with watercolors, drawing a Honu, and see how Frank Shaner took a new direction in life to live his artistic dreams. I'd love to see what you drew or painted, so why don't you send it to my website at aloha@patrickching.com. Bye-bye.